Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Burns. This video is going to act as our welcome, our hello to our chemistry lab. This video kind of applies to any chemistry lab that you're taking online in our general chemistry sequence, so general chemistry 1 or general chemistry 2, whichever one. Both these policies and everything that we're going to discuss, the setup of the class and everything like that, does apply to both of those classes. Specifically if you're taking them online in our asynchronous format. So I would like to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Kristen Burns. I will be the course instructor for your lab. Depending on the semester, there may or may not be a TA working with you. You will know if a TA is working with you by the homepage of our e-learning site. You should see their name and their email available near my name as well. It just kind of depends on the semester if we have a TA available or not, if they'll be working with us. But regardless of if you have a TA or not, whoever is your kind of go-to instructor will be emailing you each week, reaching out and talking about assignment due dates and what to do for certain assignments and everything like that. They'll be who you email when you have questions, whether that's me or your TA. You can always, if you're working with both, you can always email both of us. That's totally fine. But whoever is the kind of main instructor for that class will also be the one that's grading your assignments, your labs, and your post labs and things like that. But regardless of if you're working with just me or with me and a TA, our unified goal is your success in the class. And what I'm hoping this video portrays to you is the key points of our lab course, the setup and the policies, and also ways to kind of maintain the class. It can be hard to maintain an asynchronous online class such as this, so tips and tricks on how to succeed in a class just like this. So a quick overview of our course. Throughout the lab that you take, you're going to be learning about specific lab techniques, whether that's initial techniques or more advanced techniques, depending on the semester that you're in for your online lab. But this will all be done through virtual lab experiments, and we'll also be looking at the various chemical concepts that you discuss in chemistry lecture. And our goal here in the lab itself is to make the connection between the lecture content and the lab experiment, because chemistry is a very hands-on science, so we can see the stuff that we're learning, we can see the concepts that we're learning right there in the lab. And even though this is an online class, I don't want you to lose that opportunity to see that connection. It just won't be one that you do in person, but you'll still be able to see it in our virtual format. So the virtual lab software that we're going to be using is called ALEX. You may know it from your lecture course. For the ALEX lab section, your access is provided to you, but that is only for the lab component. So every student will have free access to just the lab course in ALEX for the whole semester. So if you're in the lecture course, you have to buy an ALEX code that's specifically for lecture. You do not have to buy a second code to use in the lab. We provide that to you because the university uses so many ALEX products. We say, well, we're using you in lecture. Can you give our students free access for the lab since they're already using ALEX there? And they agreed to do that for us, but it's only for the lab. So lab and lecture are separate, so we got to make sure that their ALEX are separate, but you will be provided free access to the ALEX lab course. Lecture is going to be different. All of our assignment due dates are listed in our course calendar, which is in our e-learning, which I'm hoping to get through a tutorial of, kind of show you around on our e-learning course today in this video. But all of those assignment due dates are listed in that course calendar. Please print or save a copy in some way, because that's all of your due dates. In an online asynchronous course, it is very much a student-led course, so you are in charge of reminding yourself of those due dates. Yes, myself or your TA may email you with those reminders, but we're not the ones that are sitting in front of the computer doing the lab each week. That's your responsibility. So you want to make sure you have those due dates set out in front of you so you know what you need to do. In our course, we have a few different types of assignments that kind of aim to do different things. So one type of assignment that you'll see mainly at the beginning of the semester, but also throughout the semester as well, are called lab skills. These are our virtual lab simulations in ALEKS that focus on one type of a lab-based skill. So it's not a simulation that focuses on a chemical concept like from lecture. It's more focused on a lab-based skill, like how to use a balance, how to use volumetric glassware, how to use a burette, things like that. Things that you need to learn about in order to move forward in your lab sequencing, whatever that may be for your specific major. But these are the specific lab skills that you need to have mastered by the time that you finish this class. We'll also have some sort of pre-lab activity for every lab that we do. This will typically be a quiz, but there may be other types of activities kind of added in. But the purpose of these activities is to prepare you for the lab content. Like it'll talk about the chemistry content that we're learning in lecture and maybe some additional lab specific techniques or verbiage or anything like that to bring all of those concepts together so that when you go into the lab, you know what to expect and how to kind of approach those specific problems. The lab investigation is going to be our experimental portion of the lab itself. So this is where you're going to be doing a simulation that walks you through a lab experiment. And at the end of this video, I am going to give you a quick tutorial of what that looks like in our ALEKS simulations. But mainly our lab investigations are going to be through ALEKS simulations, but there are some other activities that we may use instead of the ALEKS simulations. ALEKS is a wonderful software, but it doesn't have labs for every topic, and there are some topics that we need to cover in the lab that we can't use ALEKS for, so there may be some real-world investigations where you go out into your own home or your own, kind of area and look for specific chemistry-related things there. Maybe do your own experiment or something like that. We also use PhET simulations, which is an online free simulator as well, to kind of bridge those gaps where ALEKS doesn't have lab experiments for you to do. After you've completed your lab investigation, you'll also complete a post-lab activity, and this is where we're working on the interpretation of the lab, and we're making the connection between the concept that we learn in lecture and the lab experiment itself. How did the lab experiment teach us about these concepts that we learned in lecture? This is the interpretation of the lab investigation is equally as important as the lab investigation itself. Yes, this is a lab course where you learn those lab techniques, but we also have to learn about the concept and the ability to interpret the data that we get. So if we get a mass of something, what does that tell us? What does that number mean? It's not just a mass. Like I can sit there and say, I found the mass of this thing, but I want to know, what does that mass mean? Does that tell me about a certain product in a reaction? Does it tell me how much of my reactant was used? Things like that. So we need to work also on the interpretation of our data from our lab investigation. But these are the lab assignments that you're going to see throughout your semester. Sometimes you'll do all 4 of those in 1 week. Maybe you'll do a combination of 2 or 3 of those. It just kind of depends on the lab that we're doing and the concept that we're covering. There are important policies that I do want to point out, and there are significantly more detail of this in our core syllabus, which I do suggest you read through very carefully. In any class, when you get a syllabus, you should be reading through those very carefully. One of the big policies that I think students have a misconception of in an online class is that there are no due dates because we don't meet. Well, an asynchronous class doesn't mean no due dates, it just means no meeting time. So we're never going to meet in person for this lab, but all of our assignments will have set due dates. I try my very best to have the same due dates each week, so whether that's, every Monday or a Wednesday and a Sunday kind of thing, so that you get used to a specific schedule and you can build your routine around it. So again, that's why we want to print out that schedule that's provided on e-learning to make sure that we have those due dates. We do allow for an extension period to accept late work. Again, please look to the syllabus to see what that extension period is for your specific course. But we do accept late work up to a certain point, but after that extension period is closed, the assignments will no longer be accepted. So please make sure that you're getting those assignments done early or on time, and if you miss one, make sure you're completing it during those extension periods, because after that they will not be accepted. There is more detail on those specific assignments and specific due dates and everything like that in our late work policy in the course syllabus. If there's one policy section that you need to be reading, it should be that one, so that you are aware of, those late policies and those due dates and everything like that. We do have a few resources that are available to you. Again, the syllabus, the course calendar, the schedule, things like that. Those have all of our important policies, outlining of assignments, due dates, and everything like that. So those are going to be the first resources that you should be reviewing as the semester goes on, and as new assignments start up and things like that. On e-learning for each lab, I try my very best to have notes and videos that are available to prepare you for the lab. Sometimes those are available in e-learning, sometimes they're available in ALEKS. It just kind of depends on the video and the lab itself. I also try to have some sort of notes available so that if you're not quite at that topic in lecture yet, you can start to learn about those topics. That is the one hard part about a lecture and a lab, is sometimes they're never perfectly in sync, and that's okay. It's never a perfect schedule, and that's no one's fault. It's just how the timing works out. So there may be some labs where we have to do a little bit of pre-learning before we do the lab experiment, and that's okay. That's what these resources are available for. But if there's a lab where you're like, I had no idea what I was getting into once I started this, and the notes weren't helpful, or there wasn't a video or anything like that, please feel free to let me know. Or if more resources are needed for a specific lab, if there's something that you just weren't prepared for and it just threw you off track, I'm happy to make those resources as fast as I possibly can. Maybe not for this specific semester's lab, but I know it'll help students in the future. So if there's a lab where you're just like, I had no idea what was going on, I needed some more support before I started the lab, please feel free to send me an email, and I'm happy to take that into account and make that improvement for a future semester. Each lab module in e-learning does have the link to all of our assignments. As we'll see in our e-learning tour, everything is set up in the order at which you should be doing it. So first you're going to do the pre-lab quiz, then you're going to do the lab assignment, then you're going to do the post-lab activity. So you'll see them in that order, and you should complete them in that order. And there's links in every module for those specific assignments. So you'll see on e-learning that if you've clicked a link, you'll get a little check mark. So make sure you're getting those checks in order. ALEKS also has some similar resources. So the pre-lab quizzes that are available in ALEKS also contain videos. You do get 1 point for watching the full video as part of that quiz grade. So make sure you're watching those videos completely through. If you want to put it on 1.5x speed just to make it go a little bit faster, that's fine by me. But you will be graded on those videos, and by graded I mean just by watching them. But those videos will help you answer the questions that come after in the pre-lab quiz. Each lab also has an introduction page that outlines the concepts covered in the lab and any other information that pertains to that lab specifically, whether it's a type of glassware that we're going to be using and how to read specific data, or maybe it's about interpretation of the data, making a graph, things like that. So make sure before you start that lab that you are reading that introduction page. You may even want to read it before the pre-lab quiz or in between attempts of the pre-lab quizzes. Pre-lab quizzes, you get unlimited attempts. Lab experiments, you get multiple attempts. So please make sure you're using those so that you're fully getting as many points as you possibly can. But feel free to refer to that introduction page as you go through the lab experiment as well. You can always go back and forth between the lab experiment and the introduction page if you had any questions. So just make sure that you're using that resource as well. Now, for many students, this is maybe their first online class in the college setting, or it's not particularly their choice depending on the semester that we're taking this lab in. But I do want to provide you with some tips for how to succeed in an online course. But the main thing here is that your success in this class is the utmost importance to both myself and if we have a TA. Like, we want you to succeed. We do not see this class as passive, even though it is very student-led. We are there working with you along the way, sending those emails, answering your questions, grading your assignments in a timely manner, things like that. So you will be supported in this online class as if it was in person. So we want to help you along with you through your pathway. So the first tip is to treat your online class like a real class. Don't let it, come out of your mind just because it's online. Think about what you would do if this was a real lab. Labs are typically 3 hours each week. There's usually a 3-hour block that you're taking a lab in person. Maybe you set aside about 3 hours worth of time. I'm not saying that the lab assignments will take you 3 hours, but set aside that time, especially at the start of the semester when you're starting to get your routine set up, and say, okay, this works really well in this amount of time. This is about how long it's taking me to do these things. Maybe if you have extra time, work ahead, things like that. But treat it like a real course. Say, I'm going to work on my lab assignments at this time on this day, and do it. Actually do it. Don't just say it. Set up a daily routine. Use that schedule that you have to set up your due dates and everything like that to see which days work best for you to work on these assignments. I definitely don't suggest leaving all of the assignments for the day it's due. Even though all of the assignments are due on the same day, you can always work on those on separate days. So do the pre-lab quiz one day, the lab experiment the next, and then the post-lab the day after that. It's totally fine to work on these throughout the week. It sometimes makes it easier to take little bite-sized pieces of these assignments as we go forward. But I definitely suggest setting up some sort of routine or schedule and make sure you're sticking to it. When you're working on the assignments, when you're going through the quizzes, watching the videos, going through the lab assignment itself, and recording all of your data, please don't make that a passive thing. So don't just be clicking on there and being like, okay, I'll try this, I'll try that, I'll move this around. Actually pay attention to it like it was a real class. So we want to limit our distractions. Okay, we want to make sure that we don't have the TV on behind us, or we're not chatting with other people around us. Be like, this is the time for me to sit down and work on this assignment. Because when you go into the post lab and you have to interpret things you did in the lab, if you don't remember what you did it because you were just clicking around, it makes it a lot harder to succeed in those types of assignments. So definitely just sit down and focus on these items as you do them, so you're fully invested in it. Make sure you're using all of our resources that are available for each lab. Read through those introduction pages, watch the videos. If there's additional videos or notes, please watch through them. And if you have any questions, please email myself. If there's a TA, email them. We are happy to help you, especially on newer types of things, especially in these simulations and things like that. We know they can be confusing at times, so please let us know. The sooner you let us know, the faster we're going to be able to help you. Hold yourself accountable. Set goals for yourself. Check it weekly that you're meeting them. This is an online student-led class. Like, I'm here to support. If you have a TA, they're also there to support you. But you are the ones that are sitting down in front of the computer and working on these assignments. There's nothing I can do to make you do that. So you have the responsibility of your own success in this class, okay? You have to be the one to sit down, do the assignments, prepare for the assignments, watch the videos, things like that. I can't do that for you. So make sure you're holding yourself accountable for that fact, and check in with yourself often. Be like, man, I didn't do very well on this lab this first week. What should I do different the next time so that I can start to improve? Okay. Practice time management. As I said earlier, don't leave the assignments to the last minute. I often say to students, this is not a weekends only course. Some students are like, oh, this will be easy because it's online. I'll just work on it one day a week and get it all done and things like that. Sometimes it's not that easy. So just make sure you're working, through those assignments throughout the schedule. If you want to work ahead, you're more than welcome to do that. All of our assignments, with the exception of a few throughout, are open at the start of the semester. So you can work ahead if you know you're going to be busy one week with another test in another class or something. Maybe you work ahead, do 2 labs when you're normally supposed to be working on 1, just to get them done and out of the way. If you want to finish the class a little bit earlier so you're not stressed during finals time, you're more than welcome to do that. So this is all about your own time management. I'm not saying you have to do it, but if you want to, you're more than welcome to do that. And the big thing here with this class, and really any other class that you have, whether that's with me or anyone else, is communication, okay? It's always about asking questions. I'm happy to answer questions whenever you have them. Maybe something isn't making sense in the ALEKS simulation, it's not working, it froze, something weird went on. Whatever the issue may be, I want you to email me or your TA so that we can help you. Don't just go on and be like, well, I couldn't figure out how to do this, so I just kind of quit the lab and moved on and didn't do it. because then I can't help you. I would love to help you. It's my goal to help you. It's how I find out if my labs need to be improved or changed in any way, is through student communication. If I don't know that there's an issue or a problem, then I can't fix it. And that's the only way I know about it, is if the students tell me about it. Or if there's just something where you're like, I have no idea what this question is asking me, or I'm confused why I got this question wrong, please let us know. We are happy to help you. We do tend to email or respond to emails within a day, within a few hours. We try our best to do that. Please take into account that we are, working regular work days. So Mondays through Fridays, 9 to 5 is when we're typically available for emails and things like that. But there will be responses outside of those hours or on the weekends. We do keep an eye on our emails for that purpose. You just may have to wait a little bit longer, and that's okay. This can also be why working ahead is a little bit useful, maybe a day or so ahead, that if you have technical issues, that gives us time to fix it. Unfortunately, if it's 11:58 on the day that the assignment's due, I'm not really going to be able to help you, because I'm not going to be able to respond in a timely manner. So just make sure you're taking that into account as well. Next up, I do want to go into an e-learning kind of tutorial, guide, tour, whatever you want to call it. Go through e-learning as well as go through ALEKS. There is a whole assignment that you're going to do that gives you a tutorial on ALEKS, but I do just kind of want to give you the lay of the land on how to get into there and things like that. So let's jump over to e-learning and start our tour of that. So let's take a look at our e-learning course. So here is our e-learning course. Again, this video kind of applies to any of my general chemistry labs, whether that's Gen Chem 1 or Gen Chem 2. I'm just showing one specific semester here, but the setup of my courses is almost exactly the same in all of my different classes. So whatever I say here will apply to any lab that you're taking in the online format. So this is our homepage. Our homepage includes information about your TA if you have one, and myself as well. So it has our name, our picture, and our email, so that you can email us quickly. You can just click those links, it'll bring you right to your email. We also have our announcements. So each week, each lab that we do, you're going to see a new announcement kind of pop up. We try to put not a ton of information, but enough so that you can kind of check due dates and things like that here. So if you're in this class, this is what you're going to do in this first week of your chem lab, and the assignments that you need to complete. So you're going to see that weekly here for every lab that you do. If you scroll down a little bit more, you'll also see your e-learning calendar. All of our assignments have a due date in them in e-learning, so they do import into our e-learning calendar. So you can kind of see like about a week's worth of due dates here on the home page. But if you check Show More, you can actually see your whole calendar. For the entire class. Each class is colored a different thing, so you may see a couple for your different classes, and that's okay. But you'll see all the different assignments that are due on that day. You can click on those, and you can, go to those specific assignments by clicking more. It'll bring you to the Dropbox or to the link to ALEKS or anything that you need for those assignments. So that's what's all on our home page of our course here in e-learning. Now, the other two kind of tabs that you're going to be using a lot are going to be your content tab. This is going to have all of your links to all of your assignments and everything like that. You're also going to be using your assessments tab, where you can go into assessments and then you're going to hit grade. That'll be where you see your grade book and the grades for your class. Other things that you're going to see on your e-learning page are going to be things like your update alerts. If you don't have e-learning on your cell phone, like having the app that goes along with e-learning, I definitely suggest getting that on your phone and making sure that these alerts go to your phone in some way. You can put on like push notifications, or you can have emails sent to you of these reminders. All of the due dates that are in this calendar will show up in your update alerts the day before they're due. So if you have your alerts set up in your app on your phone, you can then get those notifications to remind you to do those. So it's another way to hold yourself accountable for those due dates in this class. So we're going to jump into the content tab. The assessments tab and just the grades is where you see the grades. Once they're graded, you'll get a notification when grades are put in. All you have to do is just click grades. I'm not going to show that just because other students are present in my e-learning course and I don't want to show that on video. So let's go to our content tab. So when you go to the content tab, you are going to see a list of these things on the side. I refer to these as modules. So when I say like, oh, go to the Lab 1 module, this is what I mean. I mean, click on this link here. So all of your modules are on this side of the screen, and all the information for that module are on the other side. So you want to start here. That's your course information. This is everything that you want to get through on that first day of your class. It kind of gives you things to do on the first day of lab. So watch this video. That's what you're doing now. You're going to read through your syllabus and your course schedule, download these, print them out, do something with them, read through them very carefully. It's good to know all those policies. And then you'll also see your link to enroll in the ALEKS labs. Again, it's important to note that your access to just the lab course shell in ALEKS is provided to you for free. You do not need to purchase another ALEKS code. If you're in the lecture, you will need to purchase that for the lecture course, okay? So this is completely different. I do suggest if you're taking the lecture at the same time as this lab, log into ALEKS through the lecture first, get your code in there and everything like that, get that all set up, and then come back and do the lab. If you're not taking the lecture, it's okay. Just go right into this link and you should already have an ALEKS account if you've been through the lecture, at least here at Western. So you would just use that same account. It's the same account, but has different course pages because of how they're providing our access. But all you gotta do is just click that link. Your homepage is going to look a little different than mine, again, because I'm on the instructor side of things, but it'll bring you right to the homepage here. You'll see your different assignments and things that you need to get done and stuff like that. You can ignore any ALEKS Pi stuff or anything like that. In ALEKS on the homepage, you're going to see a textbook in some way, shape, or form, whether that's in a side menu or right on the homepage. That's where if you needed to access any course information, like topic information for your lecture or your lab, you would just click on that textbook. So let's exit out of there. So our other modules, like I said before, are set up in a way where you do each kind of assignment as the list goes on. So here's our tutorial and our safety. This tells you what assignments are due. Typically there's due dates shown as well. So the first thing you want to do is your ALEKS tutorial, then you want to do the lab safety tutorial, and then you want to sign and submit your plagiarism and AI agreement. So you want to do these in this order, all by the specific due date. You can see the due date listed here under that assignment as well, and you'll also see it in your ALEKS calendar and in your course calendar from the previous module. So you have your due dates in many different places. If we go to one of our lab experiments, let's go to Lab 2. This one is our first full lab where we're working with an ALEKS simulation, so it kind of shows you what to do. Watch a video, go through the pre-lab, do the lab investigation, do the post-lab, things like that. So you'll see the links. Here's the link for the pre-lab quiz. You would click on that. It'll bring you to that quiz. Again, the quiz starts with some videos, and then you go into the questions. So when it says watch the videos, that's what I mean. That'll be in the pre-lab quiz. So you're going to click the pre-lab quiz. Then you'll click on the Lab 2 assignment here to go into the lab simulation. And then for this post-lab activity, for this, we need to have additional documentation. So that's here. But all of the kind of instructions that you need for these assignments are given in these descriptions here. So for these ones, you just click on those. For this post lab, it has a little bit more instruction because that's through e-learning. For other labs, some of them look a little bit different. Maybe we're using a simulation that is outside of ALEKS, so you would see this one as a PhET simulation where we need to submit to a Dropbox. So here's that Dropbox there. Again, the descriptions underneath these show us or tell us what we need to be doing to complete that assignment and to submit it for grading. Okay, but all of these labs over on the side, they're set up in the same way. You get kind of an overview here, and then you have all of your lab assignments in a list format here. So you're going to do this one, then you're going to do that one, and then you're going to do that one. So you do them in order that you see them on e-learning. Let's head over to ALEKS and just get a little bit of a tour over there as well. You're going to be seeing a lot of that in your ALEKS tutorial that you do in your first week of lab anyways, but let's just give you the lay of the land over there. Okay, so this is what generally your ALEKS is going to look like when you click on that first link to enroll in our class after you've enrolled and made your account and everything like that. You can ignore all of these ALEKS Pis. You don't need to complete them. It's just something that Alex has that I don't use and I can't get rid of it. So if you want to go through some of these topics and practice them, you're more than welcome to do that, but it's not a requirement. It's not due on any specific date or anything like that, so you can just ignore it. What you're going to be using the most is this menu on the side. So we have different places. You can read your textbook here if you want to look at your textbook. If you need to send me a message, you can, but I would prefer you do that via email just because Alex emails don't work out the same way as regular email. You have your reports page. This is what's going to tell you kind of all about your grades and everything like that. Obviously, your more specific grade is going to be found in e-learning because you have all your other assignments in here, but this is going to be your grades for your different kind of like Alex-based assignments. So if you ever needed to see your grade on something, you could just click on it and it'll show you what you got right, what you got wrong, and things like that. The same thing in the grade book. The grade book will do the same thing, just in a linear fashion. You can click on your grade or review assignment and things like that. You can see specific details about those assignments and those grades. There's also a calendar in Alex, which shows you all of your due dates, when they start and when they end. So another place that you can see those due dates. There's places where you can learn. It just gives you practice problems and things like that. This goes with the AlexPie. Something you don't need to do, but if you're just bored one day and you wanted to practice that, that's totally fine. Review does the same thing. Oh no, get me out of here. There we go. It reviews topics for the AlexPie, but again, we don't need to do that. The assignments tab, though, is where you're going to see all of your assignments for all of the lab-based or Alex lab-based stuff. So you're going to have your tutorials, your lab skills, your pre-lab quizzes, your lab investigations. They're all going to be in Alex. Now, when you see yours, all of these are going to be open because they're going to be open from the first day. I just wanted to open a few before the semester started just so we can kind of look into them. But you'll see that you have your due dates listed over here in the details. Also, you'll see that you have unlimited attempts for most, if not all of these. Okay, so this one only has 10, that's okay, but 10's enough to do a quiz. So you can see all of your attempts and everything like that. If you're stopping halfway through or something like that, you'll see your progress of how much is done, and once it's done, it'll be 100%. And I do believe you can also click on your grade here as well to see what you got right and wrong in that assignment. So this is kind of like the base page that you're going to be at in your Alex assignments, is this assignments page. So when you're ready to do an assignment, all you have to do is just click on it, hit start, and here's what you're going to see. Now, this is your Alex Lab tutorial, so it's going to tell you what each section is, but here's your introduction section. So you're going to read through here, kind of see what's being scored, what you're going to learn about, what are the key concepts in the overview, and things you need to note before you begin, stuff like that. But then you're just going to continue into the lab simulation. All of this is what you're working with. These are different things you can click on, and then your procedure is over here on the side. And that's what this tutorial is aiming to kind of show you. You're going to kind of go through these different things. You have different methods, and you can reset things. You can set up notes. You can have your lab data and your different labels if you need them. If there was a time when you needed to go back to the introduction section, you can. It brings you back here, but you can always toggle between the two. Let's go into one of our other assignments and kind of see what that looks like as well. So you can see that my Alex Lab tutorial is now noted as in progress. I'm still working on it. So I have to make sure that that becomes submitted before that due date. Let's see, I have my lab skills here. So here's one of your lab skills. So after you do your tutorial and you're used to Alex, you're going to go into your lab skills. So again, here's that intro page. Here are your key concepts, different things to review and what you're being scored on, and then things to note before you begin. So in this case, it's looking at the meniscus or something like that. But then you just jump right into the lab simulation. You'll answer this question and you'll move forward, but again, you can move back and forth. So that's what our simulations kind of look like. This one starts with the question, then goes into the simulation. Let's see, where do you see orient your eye? Let's see. Let's put a wrong answer. So because I got that answer wrong, it's gonna not let me move forward. So you need to get these answers correct in order to move forward. Okay, so you gotta make sure you're checking that. So once I get the answer correct, then it moves me into my simulation and I get my new procedure for this part. Okay, you can kind of see where you're at in the different phases down here on the bottom. Let's go over to a quiz as well, one of the pre-lab quizzes. And the word quiz here is not as scary as it could be in other classes. It's just kind of like our pre-lab assignment, but it's set up as a quiz because there's questions that you have to complete. But you click on your quiz, you hit start, and the first thing you gotta do is watch a few videos. So here are all the different questions. So this assignment has 12 questions. Okay, you can move to different questions as you need to. So questions 1, 2, and 3 are typically videos. Let's see, is 4 a video? No, 4 is a question. So after you've watched those videos, then you'll answer these questions as they pertain to this lab. Well, this lab has to do with density, so we're using some masses and volumes to find some densities. So you'll use what you learned about in lecture and in these videos to calculate those values, convert values, do significant figures and things like that. And again, remember, these videos are graded, so you do have to watch them in order to get your points. So let's see, can I move forward in this at all? I don't think I can. Let's see, I could probably bring up the speed to a lot. Move through it. I could pause and play, but I can't fast forward, unfortunately. But once you finish watching that video, it'll give you a little green check mark to say that you watched it, and then you can move on to the next one. So just make sure you're watching those videos. They are there to be helpful and useful, especially on those assignments where we may have not gotten there in lecture quite yet, and you may need a little bit more pre-learning before you can do the assignment. But this is all you're going to need when you get into ALEKS, is mainly the assignments page. If you wanted to see like how you progress through different assignments and things like that, you can do that here. Let's say I wanted to go back into this quiz. It'll bring you right to where I left off. Other things that you'll see in ALEKS are going to be an explanation tab, a guided solution, an example. These 3 will help you move through these problems if you don't know how. It will require you to use one of your attempts, and that's okay. You're going to see how the problem is done to then use that for another question of the same type, just with different numbers. So this one walks you through how to do these specific problems. So if I wanted to calculate density, grams over volume, then that's what you put into your answer. Do the same thing with a guided solution, where it'll help you walk through different concepts so that instead of just looking at how it's done, you're actually learning how to go through it. And the same thing with the example. It gives you a similar problem with different numbers, but it shows you how to set those up so you can apply it to your own problem. Okay, you also have a data tab. This is where you're going to get like conversion factors and things like that, different formulas. So there's some volume formulas, some other conversion factors. So whenever it says to refer to the data tab in any way, that's what you're going to be using. You have a periodic table here as well, so that you can choose different elements to see their molar masses and other information about them as you need them as you go through these problems. You can also go to your textbook and see kind of where in the textbook you would need to be reading to answer these questions. So that's what that does as well. So if you wanted to use that e-text, you're more than welcome to do that as you're working through these problems. And then we can go back, and that's really what we're going to be seeing there for these assignments. So that's kind of our overview of ALEKS. If you do end up having any other questions on how to complete these assignments or kind of what you're seeing on the screen, please feel free to send me an email. I'm happy to answer that question.